This is just the way I choose to make spheres, probably because I've done it this way so often. It's easier for me to do it with a skew. I didn't bring a rescue club. The only tools I brought were skews. Other than just something to look at, you can turn them into all kinds of things. If you make the little ones are hard to make, but whatever.
You're beautiful.
This is a wire burner with guitar strings from Donnie Main's. And then this is the big string and this is the little string. Got a little bit smaller balls. So they can be useful for certain things. This one goes on my steering wheel, on my pickup. It's got a bearing in there.
Necking knob.
Yeah, is that what you call it?
Yeah. Necking knob.
I don't know, but it works really well with me running around oil wells. And then I've done this on my reloader and my whole lathe. This one goes on my lathe at home. So I have replaced all of the little plastic knobs with one made out of wood. Same thing with my reloader. Anything else I can think of. So.
Do you have to have a threaded insert in that, or do you thread the wood?
All I did, when I make the ones with inserts, when I've still got them, I will actually put them in a chuck. So I can round off the back side and just have one side to part off. So it's sitting in the chuck and it's mostly made, because it's really hard to get that hole exactly perfect. So I drill it here and then I glue in a nut. And I even dye the epoxy the same color that I do the wood. So it's pretty much invisible and it works. Just be sure and drill it a hole deeper so you get a little relief in there. Oh, that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. But I also have one. When you turn something and you've got an opening, this one's got a little hole. I use it for tail support in something that I need to reach in, that I need to get in there. So, and you can see I've colored stuff and whatever else using that as to hold it in. You can make the really little ones. You can hollow them and turn them into Christmas ornaments. And this is a Tom Farrell trick, because that way everybody knows it's hollow. You put a little thingy in it. I learned that from Tom. I'm going to call out a bunch of you guys today that I've learned from. You can make them little ones, and then you can make big ones out of you can make really big ones out of real cracky cedar. See, I had a piece blow up making a bowl. It was just spinning. I wasn't even touching it, and it came apart on a crack that I haven't seen. And it hit me in the ribs, and I didn't like it. So I saw that piece, and I said, well, I don't know how to fix you. So I made a sphere out of it.
Like a bocce ball.
Yeah. And then, if you have a sister-in-law like I do, she's always challenging me, like the little snowman and whatever. So she came up with this piece of wood that had a bunch of bug holes, and she says, can you make a sphere out of this? This is a piece of mesquite. But after you turned it away, that's all the bug holes that were left, but it really looked bad to start with. You know, we didn't think. But anyway, that was a challenge from Rhonda. That's very heavy with it spinning around with it solid. The big ones are not easy. can turn the epoxy. This is a pine cone that I just basically turned a piece of wood, put it in a cup, poured a little bit of epoxy, set the pine cone down on that after it dried, and then filled it the rest of the way up, turned the pine cone, and it's already kind of a cylinder thing, and it's got a wood on one end, and I just made that out of it.
Mark, do you turn the epoxy using just a skew as well?
That's how way I turn pins and everything. To me, if you don't put scratch marks in it, you don't have to take them out, and I find it easier to, I don't know why I find it easier to use a flat tool to do round things. But you can do this to it. I won't mention what it is. And then when it's in really bad shape with lots of bugs, you can still turn a sphere out of an absolute worthless piece of wood. This is a root ball from my fig tree, and that's what it looked like, and this is what I did with it. It's a little difficult to try to sand, to find 2 points that are solid on each side of each other, but other than that, it wasn't an issue.
Did you say that was from a fig?
My fig root, yeah.
What's that, figured wood?
It is. and these are really cool. You can take a piece of, I use soft wood, usually a piece of juniper or something that's cracked up pretty bad, but you put that metal reflective paint on it, hit it with a ball peen hammer a few times, and everybody swears it's the cannonball. You know, and it just doesn't weigh anything. It's kind of, I said I was going to call some of you guys out. You can also use it to make toys. And my friend here did a demonstration on making these little toys. So you have to be able to turn the ball to make the toys. And Christian did a demo on that. But, I can put them out here. These can all come out here now.
Hey, Mark,
Yes.
just for Jim Burke's sake, could you slip in there just every once in a while? It's real simple.
Yeah, yeah. He's banned from that word, but I'm not banned from that word because, so I just, you know, find that when I'm doing these pieces that you don't need much more length than you do. See, it's not much bigger, maybe a ½ inch, you know, 3/4 of an inch top. And this is my favorite center finder I've ever found. This thing was, it's just, I love it.
Where'd you get it?
Christmas. It's a eye gauging brand. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it come from, what is that place? Chips. The people that have the router balls.
Carter,
What?
Carter and Sons?
No? No?
Woodpecker and woodcraft both have an eye gauge.
Eye gauging like this. Okay, well there's the people that have router balls, so I get a lot of stuff from them. Here I'm gonna call out another friend. This one's from, was made from Mike Oglesby, made the center finder, or the awl. I like to collect things from you guys. I bought your hammer.
Yeah, well, you did.
I bought it at the sale just so I would have something. And I'm standing there in SWAT, and I'm talking to Alan Lacer, who is the skew guy up there, and I asked him, I said, how do you transport your skews? He didn't have an answer, you know. I still don't know how he transported them without them getting dinged and whatever and this and that. But when I asked that question, there's this man standing right behind me, says, take gasket material, fold it over and wrap it in duct tape. So, that's exactly what I do. It's just a sandwich of that thick gasket material, and that way I don't lose an edge. I don't cut my pickup seats. I don't cut the toolbox. Pretty, and this is a robust, this little ring is from, I think they say it's for bowls, but it comes with it. Oh. But this, it's got a set screw, or Allen wrench through, and you can set that point where it just barely sticks out, and that's the way I've got them. Because I don't want to waste any extra wood. I want to be able to use it. But it's this is a safety, I can't remember what kind of, exactly what it's called. I should have looked it up. But it's totally non-aggressive. If you see that little thing, I need to get him out of there.
Is that the robust cup center?
Yes, that's what it is. It's a robust, and it is a cupped center. But it doesn't have anything. The reason you use it is if you're learning to use a skew, or even if you're good with it, it benefits you greatly to be able to make a mistake without having to cost you the whole project. Because when this thing catches, it mostly just slips because it just,
Not that you ever get a catch.
and I'm gonna tell y'all, I will get a catch today. I get them at home all the time. I am able to produce the thing and come back from the mistakes, so maybe that'll be the lesson today. I'm hoping not to make the mistakes, but the skew is extremely versatile. I use it on every project. I don't know I can't think of anything I don't use it for, but it's terribly unforgiving. Very versatile, but very unforgiving. So what would be a little oops catch that you have to get out of there sometimes will completely destroy the project. And as Dewey, well, I do have a roofing skew. And this one's kind of special. I bought it from Lee Roberts' widow when we were doing all that. This was, I think of him all the time when I use this tool. It's just anyway. And this is the tool that you do raise the tool rest, and you can see how high that is, but it's based on the diameter of the wood. It has nothing to do with the centers. And the skew is just like any other tool. All you do is ride the bevel. Another thing turning these like this is you can get away with turning the wood the wrong way. Oh, I gotta get my glasses. You can, you know, the grain's running this way on that, which makes it really easy. You can turn it around the other way if you have all these cutoffs and things that you want to use, but you know, it kind of gets a lot of torn grain, but this kind of slices through it so you don't get that torn grain on that end grain. So, and I've gotten the habit, you know, they say turn the lathe down and turn it on and then turn it up and there's a bug hole. And I just leave mine on all the time because that red light don't go off anyway, even if you turn it off. So I just turn the rheostat down because it turns the lathe off. I just run it that way. That's my on and off. I have had to take it apart and clean that button a few times with contact cleaner. And you don't want to really get in a hurry and take a whole lot. The more you try to take off the, and this is the thing with this tool. See that? You get a catch and you can it's a whole lot safer learning how to use this tool. How many of you out there like math? Me, Bryce, another engineer. We like math. I'm going to show you how to do this, no math. And just because the tool's big don't mean that you can't do fine work with it. And that right there, 320 is all you have to use. I mean, usually 220 is the only thing I'll hit it with, the heaviest, because it's just not necessary. So that's my roughing skew. Then, and these are something else I'm going to call out another one of our guys. These are special to me. And you can, the cheap Harbor Freight ones work just fine, but these I got from Dick Markham. So they're another tool that I like to use more than the rest of them just because they came from Dick Markham. And you can see how much extra wood I have right there. Not a ton. And that's why I leave those little points sticking in just a teeny bit. And the only reason is because you don't have a big void to get out of there where you have to get rid of that little point.
So doing that, you're making sure the diameter is the same?
Yes. The diameter is the same as the length.
Otherwise, it's a football.
Yes. Well, it still can be. And this skew I got from Scott.
Mark, are you making a peeling cut?
Yes, this is a peeling cut.
Or what?
The other one was a planing cut. This is a peeling cut. And it just, I could have used that big skew and used the peeling cut and knocked it down the way I did this. You know, just blah, 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 blah. But it's not as smooth. So, where's 3/4 there?
There's far less tear out on that cut than there is.
Yes, it's very smooth. And normally, you don't necessarily have to because I'm gonna end up turning most of it. But I normally come around here and make a, what do you call that cut, Jim Bob? Where you, that,
Peeling cut?
no, not a peeling cut, but when I hold it this way. What?
Concave?
Well, it's the,
V cut?
well, it's a V cut, but you take the whole thing,
Oh, it's a paring cut.
a paring,
Yeah.
you can do like that, and that thing is slick, slick, slick. But most of it's going to be turned again anyway, so it's not necessary, but it's something I practice just because I can do it. you know, just because. Okay. Before I take that off there. We need to find the center of this. Okay, if you've watched any of Alan,
Laser?
no, Alan Stratton. He comes out and says, he uses his octagon thing. And he figures this and he figures this and he does the math and he writes all over his thing, you know, all of these different figures. And I was talking with him at SWAT, but, you know, tons of math. It works for him, but it's not necessary. I've seen people make a circle and put it down here and then try to make this fit. I've seen people cut out half circles and try to make them fit, but then you're painted into that. You know, I make them whatever size the wood is. I'm just doing it because I like to turn something. So, otherwise I'd have to keep planing that down to get it just right to the right size where this thing fits. But you can pick your middle spot, what you think is the middle spot, match this up right here, roll it around, and I nailed it, but I'm used to doing this. But if you do that, make that little point, there's your center. And that's all the math you used, was this. It's the only thing, one little step is all I use that for. Now, I do, depending on how big, you know, like this is not very big, so I'll just divide that into two, but I can do this by eye because it's not all that crucial. But when you get into turning it, you're gonna find, which one was my center one? Because, you know, sometimes I've got this end and I've got a little extra wood. So I like to come in here with a colored pencil to let me know exactly which one of them is the center one. So there's no confusion in it. I don't ever just forget and do whatever. And speed-wise, I don't know. I listen to the lace. That's it. I don't pay attention to it. I just look at the... And again, the tool rest height has everything to do with the diameter of the wood and nothing to do with the center. And I don't know what you call that cut. I was kept telling Alan, see there you catch with it. But this is the hardest, the round, right around here is the hardest cut to make with a skew, in my opinion. See there? But, and it's because I need to adjust that just a little more. Sometimes it takes you a minute to figure out where the sweet spot is on your tool rest, and that ain't it. But every cut, pretty much, that you can make with a skew, you can make it, come on, Mark, you can make it with making a sphere. So you practice making spheres, you can make almost any cut that this thing needs. And I know this round right here is not going to be, but it's good practice to see your, come on. When you get one little tick, it wants to catch in that little tick every time. Try to get rid of it. And you don't want to go past the thing too much or your diameter changes. This is a piece of mesquite
Mark, are you leading with your long toe or your heel?
It depends on where I'm at with the cut, because if I want, it's the angle, because see, if I'm making that cut, I need it that way, but if I do it this way, it seems like it's harder to change my angle on my skew, so I flip it. It doesn't seem to make me a bit of difference which one is up and which one is down, because you're cutting on the middle third of the thing. If it's down, it's here, if it's there, and that way the skew actually stays a little sharper, quicker, or longer, because you're using the whole useful part of it. And if I can stay on the bevel, that won't happen, that little kick. Well, might have to grab you. And I was afraid of it, the skew, the most part of it was what I was afraid of, was when I got it dull, what do you do with it? And see, I have to flip it over for that, for the different angle to get onto the, but you can see the shavings that come off of that, if I look at what I'm, one trick is, you almost have to keep one eye on the tool and one eye over here, because here's what I see what I'm doing, but if I pay too much attention to this, then I get off of the sweet spot of my skew, and that's probably what I'm doing. As long as I'm not down to the final end, it's not a big. I'm trying to get them out of the way so I won't have to worry about it later. I may be trying to take too much. And that's the hardest thing, that very last little piece, and that's where you're going to have all your trouble. And that's if you try to make too long, stay on it too long, that's why I get off all the time. If I would do that, I would not have as much trouble. The longer you try to make the cut, the sphere moves on your blade, and it gets off of the sweet spot.
Okay, Mark.
Yes, sir.
Let's ask a question.
Yes, sir.
So on your cut, are you pretty much on the flat of your,
I'm riding the bevel.
and not ever on a point either one?
Nope.
You
Nope.
You never do a
When
point.
you get around, if I had left a lot more wood at the end, you can bury that point and push it. It doesn't matter which point it is, and it's a whole lot less likely to catch. But and that's what happens is when it gets over there. Another thing, don't grip this very hard. When that little kick like that, you want it to just do like that in your hand. That's all. You just want to let it go. And it hits this little swell and that's quit. And that's the end of that. But if you try to hold it, it will kick. Got off of it. And that's the other thing, like you got to turn and raise as you're making your beads and codes. when you do this, I can't just keep it there. I have to go ahead and turn it before I let it go in, and that's what gets me, that's what these bitings are doing. You've got to, I did it then on purpose, but you're supposed to turn it. You have to, don't do that. I may put the point in right then, Bryce, just right it, to get it right on that east or west pole.
But for the most part, you're not using the point
Nope,
unless you're
nope,
right in
nope,
that
nope.
deep.
I may have to. And it doesn't, there's another thing, the skews, the more acute the angle is, the better cut you get, but the more aggressive it is. The more obtuse the angle, you don't get as fine of a cut, but you get, I got a bigger one, so I had a bigger sweet spot. They're a little more forgiving. So if you're just starting out and wanting to learn, you have a more of an obtuse angle on your skew. And Doug Thompson, biggest thing, he says, the angle means nothing. On the bowl gouges, on everything, I was so worried about that. You had to make it exactly back the way it was. Have to keep this exactly the way it was. But as long as it's sharp, it'll cut. It don't matter what, if it's this way or this way, you just have to move and ride the bevel. It doesn't matter. But this one is like riding a knife blade on it. Then see, that's the worst one, right at the end, and right when you don't have a lot of meat left. That's where it always happens. I've made maybe 5 of these without a boo-boo. You're just going to get it, and you just have to come back from it.
I thought to start out with the football side and end up with the boots.
Well, that's what my daughter did. She said, I'm going to do this, Dad. I said, well, I'll help you. Well, she came up with a bowl about that big. And we started off with something this size. But that's what happens, and that's probably going to have to do some of that to this. But I just look, and anything that looks flat up here, anything that's flat, just has to go. It all has to be curved.
Mark, for the right-hander to do that right side, when you do the left side only.
I flip.
Well, I know, but you probably like the left side.
Oh yeah, because of right-handed, left-handed. The thing about this is, if you do have one side that you get pretty round and you're happy with, and you try this side and you can't get your technique to work, nothing's working for you, you just take that out and flip it around. You know, stick it back in them 2 little pinholes and turn it, if you're having a better, if you got one side that's just working better for you. I've had to do that before. And some days I can go out to the shop and knock them out, and some days just have to put it away. It just ain't happening that day. I hope this ain't one of them.
Mark, what kind of wood is that?
Mesquite.
Mesquite.
I brought several other pieces just in case it won't work. And I get in trouble a lot when I flip that tool like that. I'm going like this, and then I get ready to flip it, and when I do, that point hits like that on the way around. I've done it so often, I have to really think about it.
Now, if you were making an ornament, could you not leave that little extra wood on
If I was gonna make an ornament, I would have put this at this end in a chuck. And then I would have drilled a hole in there and hollowed it out because ornaments need to be light. So I would put this end in the chuck. But this is just real, a way anybody can do it with a lace right out of the box if you got, I mean, that one little piece. And see, that's what I'm talking about. I do that real regular. I just take a little bump. Yeah, but it does take off some fine shaving. Yeah,
I watched a lot of people turn steers on UT University,
okay.
and a lot of them do the math, but all that math boils down to what you did that set it out.
Exactly.
There's no
And
need
that's-
to do all that.
Nope. And I like math. I was good at math. Math is in my job. My degree was in basically all math. But if it's not necessary, it's not necessary. I need to quit right there and then put that point in there and finish it off like that so it won't quit biting me.
What you're doing, Mark, is looking for the shadow,
Right here.
for the blur.
Yes. And wearing these glasses and without my big light,
I like the brush.
yeah, I'm having a little more trouble with my light and my sighting. That part's easy to do. It's just this quarter on each quarter on the side is where you get in trouble.
I guess you can tell how perfect they are by these rolls.
Well, there's a way here in just a minute. I'll show you to make it.
It's not calculated.
No, it's not that way. Trying to get that point in there. The points are very, very persnickety. And every time you do that, the ball gets a teeny bit smaller. But you just get a little more practice. And what's funny is you don't even feel it coming. You'll just be doing it and then it does it. You're like, what did I do? in theory, I should have been able to do it and leave that red line and be completely finished with it, and that red line still being there.
Hey, Mark, just keep what you're doing, I'm gonna make the announcement right
Got
quick.
it right ahead.
If you have your vehicle parked in the lot next to, not straight in front, but next to, they have an event here at the church that they need the vehicles moved out of that parking lot. So if you have your vehicle and it's parked in the lot next to the church over here, they need to move them over in front of the church.
Now, making it round is pretty easy. Getting through your catches is what the problem is. Because this one makes a pretty big mess when you get the catch. And that's what I feel for when I do this, to see if I got past the damage. But then it gets to be a point where I finally get the hang of it, and then it all starts going smooth, and then I don't have any more boo-boos. And I use these fingers when I'm rolling that, I'm pulling that in there like this, around that corner.
You say now a larger sphere is harder than,
Well, it's just because it's massive. I find about a tennis ball size is about the easiest. The little ones, you don't have a lot of leeway right there. You make one little thing and it ain't around no more. It's just easier to see, to me, on something about this size. And I guess maybe because I mostly just use stuff I can't use for anything else. But you can use these things for species identification. You get to see the sapwood, you get to see the mesquite ones and the Russian olive ones and all that. You get to see if you make it in a limb, you got a pith in either end and you get to see the full thing. You can make it side. Anyway, they're really good for species identification, and they're a cool thing. You can make one out of every species, and that way, you know, if you're explaining it to anybody else, you know, what wood this is, or
From here to that, looking pretty round. If you keep carving on it, what are you looking for?
I'm looking, basically, I call them the hips. These, yeah, I guess I'm just picky. I want it just exactly, and I'm feeling for any damage. But when I had to come in from that catch, I had to make it a little smaller, so I had to take the top down a little bit. So I redo my calipers. And there's that. And there's that. And there's that. If you get all those measurements, it's round. You know? I mean, it's round. So I'll come in here at this point. I never use a parting tool. And you have to come back, the more pointy it is, the easier it gets to do, but you have to give yourself enough room that when you're getting in there, you don't want this pushing on that. One, it causes torque, and two, it bruises the wood. And since I don't have but a teeny little point sticking through there, I've got that much waste to take it off. Which is, you know, necessary is necessary, but anything more than necessary is unnecessary. Do what? I said anything more than necessary is unnecessary. And I also don't like torn wood on the ends. I don't like to have to sand it out. So, therefore, I do take it down to pretty much nothing. I don't know if that shows up on the camera or not, but it's that one was so much it stuck here more than it stuck on my wood. But there's that. Then,
Around.
well, I'm not too done with it yet.
Oh.
Okay, another, if you don't get it just perfect, or if you don't want to take the ends down that much, you can leave them quite a bit. These do have, this one goes on here, see the hole?
Uh-huh.
If it gets tight, how do you get it off? I have to stick something in that hole and then something in this hole to encase it. But these are done the same way as that ball. There's a 3/4 inch nut. You can go down and pick them up at Gbo's, and it's a 3/4 inch nut. These are made out of pear, I think. But I just epoxy them in there, and then put them on this end, and then turn this end, and then take it off and put it on this end, and then turn that. And when you do it, then you turn that, and they're just fine. But these are a way a lot of people leave them not round and then try to get them round this way. Know your species. If the wood is soft, be gentle with your tailstock pressure. You want enough pressure to hold the ball, but not enough pressure that it dents it. If it's too loose, the ball won't spin and you'll end up with this ugly burnt ring right there, because that turned and this didn't. But if you look, with that going, it's still pretty stinking round without doing anything else. And another trick with this right here, where I'm taking that little bump off, when you're sanding or when you're doing this, only work on this top third. If you try to go any further, you're going to end up with a thing that does like this and then has a bump on the sides. You don't want to work anything more than that top third. And then, I don't know if anybody else besides me shopped at Texas Tool, but they're trying to get a lot more woodworking stuff. I know the boy that's doing it all, he graduated high school up there when my daughter did. And this stuff is amazing. You can buy it up at Texas Tool. I've got every grit it has. This I think is 120, but it's just, I've only bought the one roll. It's lasts a long time. And normally you slow the lace down, but if I'm going to sand it, I just want to hit the top bumps with it feeding around, and therefore it doesn't keep doing this. But this sandpaper, if you can see, that it works on either side. It's got aggregate on both sides. But again, well, this is.
I know.
Oh, you got them from Texas Tool or something like that too?
No, this is what the club ordered
that's
that
right,
we sell
that's right.
for.
That's right, and these rolls
How much
work really
a foot,
well.
Rhonda?
You can just do,
Huh?
It's his size.
Yeah. This is the same stuff we use at class.
I do like this and wiggle on it to make sure it's seated in there a lot of times. Just to, I don't want it to do. But most of the time I start with the 220 right there. And I got that from Texas Tool too, but it's just exactly what we got over there.
They have all grits. in
They
the
got
mesh-
lots of grits.
In the mesh.
The mesh, I know I've got 180 in this, and I don't think they go too much less than 180, but that's where you do most of your sanding anyway, is 120, 180.
That's where you do most of your sanding.
No, I do most of my sanding honestly with this right there, with the 220. But, it just, I've got that little spot where the end was that still got a ring where I took it down. Not quite the same size. But I'm just trying to get that marking out of it. But it lasts a long time, and if you just cut just a little piece and you wore the whole little piece out doing that one project, then we need some wax paper. Oh, and another thing, if you're like me and you turn the lathe backwards to sand, don't with this, because if something tries to come unscrewed, it binds it really bad and you'll smoke this thing will smoke a ring into your ball.
And you know that how?
Yes. I've not turned it backwards since. I have to learn everything the hard way, but like my mother said, everybody has to go over Fool's Hill. It's up to you how many trips you make. You know, if you learn it the first time, then that's the end of that. And I don't ever take much more than that every time. And if I destroy it on something, then I destroy it. But Lyle Jameson always says, use sharp sandpaper. That's what he calls it, use sharp sandpaper. And my thing is, if you see that dust, it's sanding. And it looks like it's not round at certain speeds because of the wood grain. So, Jim Bob brought one of these, called Jim Bob out. He brought one of these at a club meeting way back in my infancy into the club. And I have always been fascinated with wooden spheres for some stinking reason. And he brought one. And I was impressed. And there's that ring right there where I took it off of the... It's just going to have to stay for today. But I come up there to Jim Bob's thing after he brought his, and I go, Jim Bob, I made one. I think I made 3. I came in and I was so proud, and I said, what do you do to, how do you finish the silly thing? And you can, this much I can do. I'm going to do this because we're eating afterwards, and I don't want shellac on my hands. But, you know, you can put it on, but you can't put it in, it can't set anywhere, and it wants to run. And I mix my own shellac flakes. When I say something is food safe, it's food safe because the alcohol I use is Everclear. I go buy the bottom shelf stuff at the liquor store. It's about the same price as denatured alcohol. It's exactly the same stuff. It just doesn't have poison in it. So some people have an issue with that. I don't really have an issue with that. I've never heard of anybody getting sick from denatured alcohol, but since it's about the same price, I mix it with that. And I put a little bit of linseed oil in there for that little, there. And my wife, every time she cuts up her t-shirts, when she gets new ones, she makes rags out of them. Well, I keep a little thing, and these little dinky ones fit right in this little jar. And I could have left them on there for that, but
What do you put the linseed all in there for?
It's like a hardening factor. You know, it helps it set up. And these little bottles, I get them, I bought so many of them, I hadn't bought them in years, but got them at Harbor Freight, and they've got, if you're mixing them up one at a time like this, I've got a lid that I got from Rockler that goes straight on your can, you know, and I went into Adams and got all them cans, them quart cans, and you take the lid off. It's an empty can. I put the shellac flakes and the alcohol in there and let them set. And this thing has a auger in it, and you can just turn the crank and it stirs the shellac up inside the can, and you never have to do anything. I mean, I just stir it up every time because it does precipitate out. So I just want it sealed a little bit and rub it on like that. It's still not to my being happy. So I take it like that over to Jim Bob. I said, Jim Bob, how do we deal with this? And he says, watch. So we went over to his lathe and he buffed it. So now I buff them. Where's the ring? But with these things, and this one's mine too, if I don't take it out, I'll forget it. And this is, to start with, I bought the buffing wheels that had the 3 wheels with the thing shaft, but they were too close together for the big things that I do and the things I do. So I didn't care for it. And so I got this, and I took the other one and the 12-inch lathe to my dad's house, hoping he would play with it. But when you put this in there, if you don't do that, the thing will rattle out, and it's not a happy thing. So you give it a little love tap, and it all works. Yeah. One more big safety factor. Always.
Bigger hammer to it.
Oh, yeah, I just hit it with a rubber mallet every time. This is buffing. It is not sanding. It is a light touch. The first one is much easier than the last one because you think, man, I'm a pro. Look at me roll this ball around there and I'm not having any issues. It's not grabbing it and throwing it over there and have to catch it. But if you push too hard, if you lose your focus, that thing will do like that. I've got several in my shop. I still don't know where they are. I don't know how you can lose them. I made one for Michael to go in his track ball for he wanted them, they had to be exactly 34 millimeters. They had to be perfectly round, and they had to be 34 millimeters. If it was too big, it wouldn't fit. If it was too little, it would fall out. You just kind of press them in there. And he wanted a wood one. Man, I made a bunch of balls that were close to 34 millimeters before I finally got a few. And there's one made out of mesquite that was perfect, and it's still in my shop. So whenever I find it, Michael can have it. And I got carried away, and that's more than I need to. But this, I find it just as easier than, I use this one more than any of them, the white diamond. It's already got it on there, so I brought the stuff, and these are rated for 1800 RPMs. So I set the thing at 1800 RPM. That's the only time I actually look at that. And that's how that cedar got me, is I had it on low because, you know, for the power, I was doing something big. So I did this big thing. And then, so I have it on low. And the fastest it'll go is like 1200 RPMs, I think, on low. And so I'm used to hitting my speed button, you know? And anyway, I turned it off and put it on and changed the belts over to high because you need 1800 RPMs to run the buffer. And I didn't put it back on low when I put that piece back on there. And when I turned it on, what normally where it was set would have been just fine on low, but on high it was too fast, and the darn switch is over there, and I'm over here, and I'm going, oh no, oh no, 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 and I reached over here trying to hit it, and it came apart, and that's the one that hit me in the rib. So, and that's all easy. This one grabs. This is the wax. This just gives it that, and I'll let the lace do the work. Screwing them on and off. If it's not necessary, it's not necessary, right? But this one is where you've done it twice already with the two different grits and you think everything's fine, but this is the one that will pull it out of your hand if you ain't careful. Now, other than that ring, whoops, I was trying to get it to Jim. Other than that ring, it is round. Well, we can start anyway and pass it around. You could look longer. But it looks just like the rest of them. But that one little thing is where I took the tab off the end and didn't take my time. But that's the way I make spheres. And I use the skew on almost every project. That's a really good project to work it on, but I do suggest you do this center. It also makes it a little bit more difficult to get this out because I hit it with a hammer.
Can you show on camera those ones that you have where they're inside?
Oh, I didn't tell them out, did I?
Those are called Chinese balls.
Or magic balls. I forgot about these. Something else you can do with them. There's a ball, and a ball, and a ball, and a ball, and a ball. There's 7 balls. And it's one piece of wood. It is one piece of wood. The hardest part is they have to be exactly 2.65 inches in diameter. That's hard enough to get a sphere to get perfect because you have to put 12 dots. There's 12 holes and you have to put all 12 dots, and I use a divider and a compass, and you roll around. When you get back to the end, you got to make sure that everyone can reach its neighbor, and if it's off, you have to erase it and start over again. And adjust your dividers in or out, and then do it again. So when that's all done, you've had a lot of opportunities to mess up. After all that's done, then you have to cut all 12 different sets of holes. There's 7 different steps in each hole. But
I'll get one this way, one that way. Never watched a guy do that on YouTube.
thanks, Zach. I forgot I didn't take them out of the bag.
And you make all those holes with the skew too?
Nope. Nope. I just make the ball with a skew. That's it. After that, there's these. It's a platform with this little tool, and there's 7 tools. One of them's like this, one's like this, one's like this, one's like that, and one's like that. So you do the inside cut first. So it's like this, but it's also curved this way. So it rounds the inside ball. And they all turn independently. It's just something to do. And I probably don't want to do it again because there's too many steps to boo-boo.
You need a giant one.
Yeah, next demo, Mark.
A big one? No, they have to be 2.65 inches. They're all that size. They're just like this one, and I decided to not. Oh, that's my knob. This one's a burl. I don't see the camera, so I don't. This one's a burl, so I decided not to. I had a bark inclusion that I filled with resin. But this is 2.65. This one was gonna be a magic ball. But I had the work inclusion, and so I don't know whether a burl ball with all them holes that you can't see a whole lot of burl, whether that's worth it or not, but. Exactly. There's because of what Bryce said, if you look here somewhere, you'll find, I did one out of, elm burl. That right there,
They have to keep just exactly like
that wood is shoemake. I got it in Arkansas. That wood is fluorescent. I hit it with a black light, and that wood it's fluorescent.
What kind of wood is it?
Shoemake. But there's one in here I made with Bryce, because Bryce said something about burl. There's one in here that's an elm, a red elm burl. This one is rotten wood. Yep, that's it. Yeah. That one is red elm burl. This one goes in that one. No, that one goes in the trailer. But there's other ways of making spheres. This is the way I choose to do it, just because. But Bryce, when you said something in the newsletter about burl, opportunities for burl. Well, burl is kind of, the grain goes which way, you get catches, you get tear out, you get this. You make it with a skew, you don't get that. And it's got bark inclusions and everything. And I usually make them, I start off with a piece of wood that's like 2 1/4, 2 1/2. I just kind of like that, and it's pretty easy to get that with your scraps, you know. But I made this one after I seen what he put in the newsletter, so that's a pretty recent one then.
How small can you do? What's the small?
Well, I don't know, you can go pretty small.
What kind?
I made a set of these for Rhonda.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you can make any kind of handles you want to. I make skews.
Chinese checkers.
Yeah, you just drill a little, I just drill a hole all the way through, just big enough for the wire to go through. These are guitar strings. But then I tie a knot in the other end, but I drill this one down about 1/3 of the way, a bigger hole. So it will help hold the knot. I pull them through and it's stuck. I guess if it ever breaks, you could poke it back out,
Yeah.
you know, this way with something and redo them. But the little ones are hard to do. I do an exercise. I'll take a spindle and I'll make ball, the whole spindle, and do the thing to make all the balls. And it'll be one piece hooked together with those little bitty pieces all the way down. So if you want to, you can do that exercise, because it makes you better, you know, and you can use a stick.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think I hit everything, and I was.
Hi, may I?
Yes, sir. You can take over.
Okay, now. Okay, in our library.
Yeah, that
You got to see a bunch of catches today.
was really good.
Alan Lacer is a real master of the skew. And we've got 2 of his demos, or 2 of his DVDs in our library. So if you're wanting to learn to use the skew, I highly recommend these 2 videos. I think I've watched them at least once. And, you know, it just takes doing it and skewing up a few times.
Design changes.
Yeah,
Mistake, design changes.
but,
Just a
you
little more
know,
practice.
that's right.
I went to every one of his classes at SWAT. They have him pretty regular, and he'll have 2 different ones. And I usually go to both of them.
Did you talk about how you sharpen?
Oh, that's what I meant to start there, because of, if you look at the,
You're fine, right in front of you.
it doesn't look like it, right there? Okay, it doesn't look like it came off a grinder, because I have never touched this skew to the grinder, never. I have one that's 320. If it gets dull, I don't need to do anything to this one, I didn't use it. But this one says fine and extra fine, but it's finer than the 320, so I don't know what it is. But it's a DIA Sharp. DMT, I guess, is the brand. But they're not cheap, but unless if you guys don't have rubber around your lathe, you're probably wasting a bunch of tools, because you put it right here and you knock it off. If it don't hit rubber, you ruin it. You drop this, I've got double rubber back here on my side. The vacuum sucks the rubber up too much, so I got one that has these egg crate looking things. It has holes, which looks like it'd be worse, but the vacuum actually sucks through that, and it all gets in them holes, and I can just vacuum it all out of there. But everything in wood turning goes right back to the bevel. It doesn't matter what tool you're using. You ride the bevel, you do the bevel. I hit the bevel, get it flat. And the only thing that happens, eventually you'll lose your hollow ground. But is it that necessary? Is the hollow ground that necessary in a knife, Dewey?
Not really.
See? So the hollow ground looks cool, and it just happens, and they advertise, hey, this is hollow ground. Well, that's because it's easy for them to do. A hollow ground is easy. It's hard to get it out. So I don't worry about that. And I do that just a little bit, and it'll just shave the hair off your arm. You know? That's why when you get a catch, if you don't have this thing, if you got it really cranked down tight, and you have an aggressive live center, or dead center, then it's going to cut it deep, wide, and frequent, as my grandpa would say. But that's just, I don't know where it went. That was the wrong one. That goes on a different one. Well, anyway, that's how you sharpen them, even the big ones. You know, it's just the big one doesn't, since it's got so much steel, even if you have an acute angle on it, it feels more obtuse just because of the thickness of the tool. Does that make sense? It would really have to sweep down to here to get that same angle. So you're stuck with so that's all it takes. And it's just a bevel. So I was so afraid of using the skew because I didn't know how to sharpen it. And when I found out sharpening it is not as difficult as you think, and you just hone it most of the time because you're just using that little bit. It's very rare. This one have never been on the grinder, never. But the rest of them have worked their way down. This skew, it's a hurricane tool, it's okay, and it's a skew, but I use it as a negative rake scraper. This is mostly my negative rake scraper. That's a definition. I mean, a skew is a negative rake scraper. And this one I can get into things, and with it rounded like that, I can do whatever I want to with it.
Mark, do you prefer the rounded profile
No.
or straight?
I don't. I like the straight. There's certain things you can do with the straight that you can't do with the round. I haven't found that it catches any worse or less. This one was straight. Alan Lacer says it has to be rounded. Okay, I want to get better. I do what Alan Lacer said. And then I listened to Cohen Way. He says he likes it straight. And I'm going, well, I have got where I like it straight better. So all my newer ones are not. But my Alan Lacer one, this is his. This is the most expensive skew in the world. He brags about it. But I had to have one. And it's round on this side and flat on that side, but it's got a rounded profile. But you can see how the thing is actually shaped. So, for certain things, this one's wonderful. You know, I could have done that whole project with this one too. But,
Tell me again what you make your covers, your
it's just gasket material.
gasket material.
Yeah, it's
Cork?
just no, it's rubber.
Oh, rubber,
Yeah, I mean, it was left over at the oil field where I worked.
I see.
So, this had some little cracks in it, and it wasn't any good for anything else. But that guy said, just wrap it over like that and wrap it with duct tape, because, you know, I figured out a way to do the other ones, but I hadn't figured a way to do this.